Imagine arriving at a tropical villa with laughter and champagne, only to wake up in a nightmare that no text message can explain. What happened in that Mexican resort room will shock you and raise deep questions about trust, travel, and truth. This is the story of 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson, whose holiday ended not in memories, but in mystery. Stay with us as we uncover the facts.
Welcome to Black Her Truth.
On October 28, 2022, Shanquella Robinson, a 25-year-old entrepreneur from Charlotte, North Carolina, touched down in the resort town of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. She was accompanied by 6 acquaintances, 3 women and 3 men, on what was supposed to be a few days of sun, laughter, and escape from the routine. The group checked into a luxury villa in the upscale Puerto Los Cabos area, where photos and social media posts showed smiles, palm trees, and a private chef dinner. According to accounts, Shanquella seemed joyful, relaxed, and excited about the break. Her mother, Salamondra Robinson, later described her daughter as living her dreams and looking forward to reconnecting with friends and resetting for the year ahead. The trip had all the signs of freedom and fun. But freedom has a cost when vigilance slips. By nightfall, tequila and cocktails were flowing, music pulsed, and the friends drifted from the villa's patio to its lounge and back. In that setting, the boundaries between holiday mode and off-guard mode begin to blur. A luxury villa doesn't automatically ensure safety, trust must still be anchored. As breathing in the salt air breeze shifted to laughter under string lights, the first cracks appeared, not in the scenery, but in the subtle vibe. Quiet phone calls behind closed doors, glances exchanged, and a friend stepping out alone for a moment. Nothing dramatic yet. Just a sense of the vacation being softly unsettled. And for Shanquella, that night would mark the last time she felt entirely in control of her holiday. What followed would redefine everything she thought she knew about this escape. At approximately 2:13 p.m. on October 29th, a physician from the American Medical Center in Cabo San Lucas was summoned to the villa. In the official Mexican police report, the doctor described finding a young woman, Shanquella, in a state of stable condition, but dehydrated, disoriented, verbally unresponsive, unable to communicate, appearing intoxicated. The story given at that time by the travel companions: she drank a lot of alcohol and would recover. The doctor recommended hospital admission. The group declined, opting for treatment within the villa. Hours of idle waiting passed. Around 4:49 p.m., the medical team documented that Shanquella went into convulsive crisis, followed by full cardiopulmonary arrest. Multiple rounds of CPR, defibrillator shocks, and adrenaline failed to restore circulation. She was pronounced dead around 5:57 p.m. Initially, the Mexican death certificate cited severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, a neck injury, with approximate time between injury and death just 15 minutes. The accidental or violent box was checked yes. But in the months that followed, an autopsy by the Mecklenburg County Medical Examiner, USA, found her spine intact, no fractures of ribs or vertebral column, and concluded cause of death as undetermined, though noting a forehead hematoma consistent with blunt force trauma. Meanwhile, a graphic video circulated online showing what appeared to be Shanquella being assaulted in the villa, reigniting questions the group's explanation of alcohol overdose. The dissonance between the initial vacation gone wrong narrative and the starkly different forensic findings would define the investigation. For Shanquella's family and the broader public, this was no longer a tragic accident, it was a mystery demanding justice. By mid-November, Mexican authorities in the state of Baja California officially upgraded the case to a femicide, classifying the death as a gender-based killing rather than an accident. On November 23, 2022, an arrest warrant was issued in Mexico for one of Shanquella's travel companions described as the direct aggressor. Simultaneously in the United States, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, opened a parallel investigation, given Shanquella was an American citizen. Agents from the Charlotte field office reportedly visited the scene and interviewed witnesses. However, complications arose: conflicting autopsy reports, unanswered questions about surveillance footage, and inconsistent testimonies from members of the Cabo 6. By April 2023, U.S. federal prosecutors announced that they would not pursue criminal charges, citing insufficient evidence. Meanwhile, the Mexican arrest warrant remains active, yet no extraditions or prosecutions have been publicly confirmed. For Shanquella's family, the investigation has become a marathon rather than a sprint. Her mother, Salamondra Robinson, continues to push for transparency, asking why questions remain unanswered when video footage, forensic reports, and witness statements paint a very different picture than the one initially told. The global outcry also highlights deeper issues. When a young black woman dies abroad under mysterious circumstances, the path to justice becomes tangled across borders, legal systems, and jurisdictions. This is not simply Shanquella's story, it is a cautionary tale for travel, trust, and accountability. In October 2024, 2 years after Shanquella's death, her mother, Salamondra Robinson, filed a high-profile wrongful death lawsuit. The defendants, the 6 travel companions, dubbed the Cabo 6, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Department of State. The claims included battery, negligence, civil conspiracy, and emotional distress. The complaint alleges that the travel companions misled the family with that alcohol poisoning a narrative, withheld video evidence of the assault captured in the villa, and failed to seek proper medical care for Shanquella. The lawsuit further accuses U.S. agencies of failing to protect and pursue accountability for an American citizen abroad. In June 2025, a federal judge partially dismissed parts of the suit against the FBI and State Department, while leaving the claims against the Cabo 6 intact. The dismissal noted that sovereign immunity and jurisdictional issues limited U.S. government liability. Meanwhile, the Robinson family has kept public pressure alive. Legal representatives such as Ben Crump joined advocacy meetings, and the family called on the government to release more information, extradite suspects from Mexico, and force transparency. On the 3-year anniversary of the death, they held a press conference, emphasizing that Shanquella's life mattered and demanding action. The legal and public fight underscores larger themes: the vulnerability of young black women traveling abroad, the complexity of cross-border investigations, and the limits of accountability when crime mixes with tourism, international law, and conflicting forensic reports. Shanquella's case has become a symbol, not only of a life lost, but of how justice can stall. For Shanquella's family, the emotional toll remains raw. They speak of sleepless nights, unanswered questions, and a journey where the path to justice feels far away. Yet they persist. Each court filing, each public statement, each petition for records is part of a promise that the truth will be known, that her memory will matter. The tragedy of Shanquella's death during what was meant to be a carefree getaway has resonated far beyond one resort in Mexico. It has triggered deeper questions about what it means for a young black woman to travel abroad, what risks are hidden under Paradise's veneer, and how stereotypes, group dynamics, and vulnerability can collide. In an article titled "Are Black Women Safe?" The Shanquella Robinson Effect, the publication Dallas Weekly argued that her death shocked the nation and is keeping travelers and women on guard, and that as women of color, traveling alone or in a group is an experience saddled with an extra layer of caution due to potential risks of discrimination and personal safety. Safety experts stress that group travel doesn't automatically equal security. One travel advisor quoted in the article pointed out that in private residences rented overseas, the usual safeguards found in hotel resorts, such as vetted staff, controlled access, uniform security protocols, may be weaker or absent. For example, we've seen situations where locally owned, private residences don't have security or safeguards put in place, like for carbon monoxide poisoning or unauthorized hidden cameras on site. 3 for 25. Further, alcohol and intoxication, especially in a vacation context, can degrade judgment and increase vulnerability. The same article warns that you never want to stick out or be inebriated in public where you can't take care of yourself. For Black women traveling, the stakes can be even higher. They may face not only the usual risks of unfamiliar surroundings but also social biases, underprotection by authorities, or being disbelieved when something goes wrong. The coverage around Shanquella's case suggests this overlaps with bigger issues of how Black travelers and especially Black women are treated when reporting emergencies or seeking justice. Her family, and others watching, say the lesson is clear: don't treat a holiday as a full suspension of caution. Choose reputable accommodations, share your travel plan with trusted contacts, check that medical resources are nearby, remain aware of your group dynamic, and limit risky behavior like heavy drinking that reduces your control. The reality, paradise settings still demand alertness. More than 2 years after Shanquella's death in October 2022, the public record remains fragmented and full of open threads. The Mexican authorities issued an arrest warrant in November 2022 for one of her travel companions in the so-called Cabo 6 group. The U.S. federal investigation, however, concluded in April 2023 that prosecutors could not move forward with charges due to insufficient evidence. Key questions remain: what exactly happened in that luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas when the video emerged showing Shanquella being assaulted? Why did initial reports focus on alcohol poisoning when the Mexican autopsy cited a spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, neck dislocation? One plausible scenario is that a violent physical confrontation occurred, followed by compromised medical care and delayed investigation. The autopsy's finding of severe spinal cord injury suggests trauma inconsistent with simple intoxication. The U.S. autopsy later contradicted some of those findings, raising issues of forensic jurisdiction, chain of custody, and international cooperation. Another scenario: although a violent assault may have triggered Shanquella's collapse, the delay in hospital treatment and reliance on in-villa care might have worsened her condition. The group's decision not to take her to the hospital when the doctor advised it may have influenced the outcome or obscured evidence. There's also the question of accountability. With no public criminal trial yet, the case remains largely civil and diplomatic. In May 2025, a U.S. federal judge weighed whether the wrongful death lawsuit should proceed in the U.S. or Mexico, indicating jurisdictional further hang-ups. For Shanquella's family, the enduring burden is this: why must they chase justice across borders, legal systems, and languages? Meanwhile, the case has become emblematic of how tourism, violence, and identity intersect, especially for young Black women abroad. Shanquella Robinson's name didn't fade away. It wasn't just another headline, it became a movement. What began as a family's desperate push for answers has grown into a global outcry from people who refuse to let injustice be buried under silence, borders, or bureaucracy. Her father, Bernard Robinson, continues to speak publicly, describing Shanquella as a loving, warm, outgoing young woman whose life should not have ended like this. Her mother calls justice not just a word, but a promise they still wait for the world to fulfill. Livestream vigils. Hashtags. Protest murals. investigative podcasts. The story continues to live in hearts and timelines, not because the system responded, but because it didn't. This is what it looks like when the power shifts from institutions to individuals. When collective voices decide that a life lost far from home still matters, loudly, publicly, globally. As of today, there have been no arrests in the United States. No extraditions from Mexico. No trial. No one has been held accountable for the violence that claimed Shanquella's life. But the family continues to file motions. Civil attorneys continue to push. Journalists continue to investigate. And viewers like you continue to bear witness. That's the truth. Sometimes justice is not a moment, but a marathon. A marathon where the baton gets passed from grieving parents to activists to strangers who refuse to look away. Shanquella's story reminds us that trust is not guaranteed by familiarity, and safety doesn't always come from numbers. Even those we call friends can become strangers in moments that matter most. Travel with joy, but travel with wisdom. Protect your body, your truth, and your instincts. Justice is not a fast road, it bends through systems, borders, and silence. But when we raise our voices, we turn a tragedy into a torch for others. Honor her by remembering, choose your circle wisely, speak up when something feels wrong, and never let a life lost become a story forgotten. So here's the question we leave you with. What does justice look like when a system stalls? Who decides when a story is over? What is our responsibility when the victim is gone and the answers are missing? Shanquella didn't come home, but her story did. And you hearing her story, you caring enough to follow it, to ask questions, to share it, that's one more way she lives on. Thank you for watching. If you found this story impactful and want to help keep these kinds of stories from being forgotten, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, stay with us.